If you find yourself retying the same knot 3 or more times, or maybe you find that your macrame knots just look really messy, this video is just for you. Hey everyone, it's Nicole here from BOCHIKNOT Macrame, and in this video I'll be sharing with you 5 neat knotting tips that have changed the way I knot. These are some of the things I wish I knew when I first started, especially when trying to get consistent tension and not knowing how to get nice, neat looking knots. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or you've already made several macrame projects. This video can help fine-tune your macrame knot skills in helping you achieve nice, clean, symmetrical knots. And without further ado, let's jump right in. The first tip I want to go over is appropriate spacing. So if you want to have spacing in between your knots and you want to get consistent spacing, use a spacer like a ruler or something that is the appropriate size for the space that you need. So I'm going to use this French comb as a spacer. It's about 1.5 inches. And what you do is underneath any row of knots that you want to add spacing to, so underneath my row of square knots, I'm adding my spacer here, and then you can make your next row of knots underneath. So you can do this with any kind of knots. So I have square knots here. So if you're making double half hitch knots and you want to include space in between the rows, you can do the same thing and add a spacer in between to help you get straight, neat rows. Helps with getting straight, neat knots. Now I'm just making a really small pattern here. You're going to see really nice, straight, neat rows if you use it on a larger pattern, but this is how you can get your spacing of your knots consistent by using a spacer. Now the second tip I want to go over is the angle of your anchor cords. Now if you follow wherever your anchor cords go, your knots will be neater. So in the case of square knots, if we're working vertically, the anchor cords are usually hanging downwards where you want to go. So always face and go towards where your anchor cords are facing. So in this case, it's facing downwards, so we are working downwards. So for a square knot, it's pretty simple. We follow the direction of the anchor cords here for nice straight knots. Even if you're working diagonally, we want to make sure that our anchor cords stay straight. So in this case, staying straight vertically. Like so. Now for double half hitch knots, this tip is especially important. So depending on if you're making horizontal, vertical, or diagonal rows of double half hitch knots, following where your anchor cord goes will help you in achieving nice straight rows of knots. So I'm using the far left cord here as my anchor cord, and then I'm taking the next cord beside as the working cord for a double half hitch knot. And so we're going to continue this diagonally. So following the lead of the anchor cord. So we're going diagonally, so we want to see if we're still following that diagonal line after every knot. So as you can see here, we have a row of diagonal double half hitch knots. Another tip I like to use when making my knots is to retighten or adjust the knots halfway through making each knot. So say with the double half hitch knot, for example, double half hitch knot means 2 half hitch knots together. So here's 1 half hitch, and I like to adjust it so that it is consistent with all the other knots I've been making. This is pretty much your practice for getting consistent tension with your knots. Then taking the cord, working cord again, make the second half hitch knot, and then tighten it up the same way. Same goes with making a square knot. A square knot is 2 opposite half knots, so once you make the first half knot, you can adjust it by pulling on both working cords, pull on the 2 anchor cords, and then finish off the rest. And that's a perfect segue into our next tip, which is you tighten halfway through the knot, but then you also tighten after you finish the knot. So here, with the double half hitch knot, now that we're done, I like to re-tighten it by pulling on the anchor cord, pulling on the working cord, just so that the knot is nice and tight. Same goes with the square knot. After you make every square knot, pull on the working cords to re-tighten, and then pull on the anchor cords. Especially for square knots, you want to pull on both the anchor cords to make sure there's no scrunched up cords, because a lot of times there are. So you want to pull on the anchor cords to straighten it out so that there aren't scrunched up cords in the middle. And pulling on the anchor cord for double half hitch knots and then pulling on the anchor cord for double half hitch knots is important because you limit the amount of space in between the knots, which makes the rows of knots straighter, and then getting rid of that space in between will make the rows neater as well. And then finally, the last tip is after making several knots, so every 3 or 4 double half hitch knots, I re-tighten the row of double half hitch knots or the few double half hitch knots I've made by pulling on the anchor cord, re-tightening every knot that I've just made, and then kind of adjusting them so that they are on track for wherever they are going so that they look nice and straight. And then also same with square knots. If you're making a row of them, go back and see if they are heading in that direction of a nice straight row of square knots. If not, adjust accordingly, straighten things out. You are going to be surprised how a little bit of adjusting comes a long way when it comes to making nice neat knots. And that's a wrap with our 5 neat knotting tips. Hopefully these tips will help you in achieving nice, neat, symmetrical knots. If you guys learned something new in this video, make sure you let me know in the comment section below. And if you want me to walk through a specific knot in a little bit more detail, let me know in the comment section below too, and I can do up a video for that. If you guys are interested in elevating your macrame skill set even further, you may want to check out our BOCHIKNOT macrame community on Patreon or our YouTube membership. I'll post links to those in the video description below. And with that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.